I'm much better now that the ladies are back from space.
What were they up there, 10 minutes?
Okay.
Katy Perry, Gayle King, and Lauren Sanchez blasted off into space in an historic all-female space flight as they rode this huge phallic instrument of Jeff Bezos's into the sky as a blatant Amazon commercial disguised as female empowerment. God, this is so dumb.
It was very profound. I don't know if you've seen Katy Perry talk about it, but she's basically a guru now.
Yeah. What were her findings? That's my question.
Well,
what
she
did
brought
she
a
learn?
Daisy, which is super important. It shows you how quick the flight was. The dead Daisy that's like snipped from its life source was still alive or still vibrant.
Yeah, and it's always
Shout out Daisy
To Blue Origin, because it's over the top. It's over the top what's happened with these women. Oh my God, you guys, look, we're seeing the moon. Like, guess what? We all see the moon just fine down here. Have you seen the moon rise? Great.
Now, so they go up there and they float for like 10 minutes?
At least.
And then they come down.
Let's not minimize this.
No, I know. It's
a
big deal.
Let's celebrate female astronauts.
And because they were united.
Katy Perry, in other words, had certainly set the bar high for herself. She was so insufferably stupid and ditzy before the flight that everybody wondered if she could come up with anything even dumber when she landed.
Katy Perry went up to the space yesterday and she spent no more than 4 minutes of intense pleasure up there. Came back and talked about how much in love she was with it, how amazing it all was. And she's talking as if she's Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin, you know, landing on the moon, first people planting a flag. She was in space for 4 minutes. She's got longer songs than that.
Now we have to witness, who is it, Katy Perry? I didn't even know she was still relevant.
It was flat but quiet. Like these profundities, Walter. Buckle up.
I have no doubt that it was a cool experience. It was not historic or significant in any way, but it was still, I'm sure, cool. More than cool, it must have been profound and quite moving. It's a shame then that it was wasted on a woman with the wisdom and intellectual depth of a newborn poodle.
Has shot a bunch of women tourists who are totally unqualified to be astronauts in a remotely controlled spaceship for 10 minutes into orbit. How insufferable, all the feminists aboard? How much do we not want this rocket to return to Earth?
Just so ridiculous the way some of the media were covering it, the way they were like self-congratulatory. They've gone next level.
Absolutely insane. I don't know if it's just woman cringe, Hollywood cringe, or elitist billionaire privilege cringe, but it's absolutely insane.
I had to come back. I mean, we're getting married. If I didn't come back, that would be a bummer for me.
5 women went up into space, right? Jeff Bezos, the man who paid for it all, sent his wife up. Which tells you something about their marriage, doesn't it? I think he was hoping she wouldn't come back.
Katy Perry's return from space should have been a triumphant moment, a celebration of women reaching new heights, both literally and figuratively, but what the public witnessed instead felt more like a Saturday Night Live sketch that forgot it was satire. Her dramatic kiss to the earth, her wide-eyed musings about love and energy and healing instantly became internet fuel. She rode a billionaire's rocket for 11 minutes and came back transformed, or so she wanted us to believe.
We duplicated the trajectory of Alan Shepard's flight back in the day.
In case you didn't know, Alan Shepard is famous because he was the first American to go to space in 1961. So we don't celebrate the people who do it as on a tourist trip 60 years later. We celebrate the people who were the first to do it. Gayle doesn't want us to say that she took a ride, but that is in fact what she did. She took a ride on a remotely piloted craft. Anyone who denies my achievement is sexist.
Earth looked it was so quiet. It was just quiet.
And now we're supposed to celebrate her crossing new barriers for women, meaning boinking a billionaire and getting a free ticket to space for 11 minutes.
It was belittling to women. And
I'm still stuck on the fact that Gayle King actually used the word astronauts. You are there on a vanity project of Jeff Bezos and his fiance. They got in their special Oscar de la Renta designed suits, laid down in a capsule, and came back in 10 minutes, you guys.
They admired the universe, and what they were expecting was for us to admire the fact that they were rich enough and famous enough to have been granted this utterly vacuous experience from which they learned absolutely nothing.
The public not buying it. Online backlash exploded. Critics weren't just laughing, they were cringing. And not because it was space travel, because it was tone deaf, self-important, and soaked in performative narcissism. Once upon a time, space missions symbolized the bleeding edge of human achievement. Today, they're photo ops with better lighting. The Blue Origin all-female flight wasn't staffed with engineers or scientists. It was packed with celebrities in custom-tailored suits, armed with selfie sticks, and vague notions of healing. What should have been a celebration of female empowerment turned into a PR spectacle. Instead of earning the title astronaut, these women were handed it for surviving the cosmic equivalent of a luxury Uber ride. No rigorous training, no mission objectives, just a ticket, a seatbelt, and a marketing team.
But the training, it all comes down to literally they learned how to buckle their seatbelts. And I asked my team to poll, like, what did they do during their 2 days? Their tasks, they spent the past 2 days practicing how to get into and out of the New Shepard capsule.
One of the more surreal moments came when journalist Gayle King took to social media, fiercely demanding that people stop calling their 10-minute trip a ride. It's a journey, she insisted. A powerful, inspiring journey. Except it was a ride, a remotely piloted one no less. Nobody touched the controls. Nobody even could. And yet the posturing reached cosmic levels. Gayle wanted to be seen as a hero, not a passenger. But when your ticket is courtesy of Jeff Bezos' fiancée and your main skill was mastering a seatbelt in 48 hours, calling it anything more is just plain delusional. Let's talk Oprah. When the launch happened, she reportedly wept. Not because someone landed on the moon or discovered alien life. No, she cried watching Katy Perry and friends take a 10-minute joyride above the atmosphere. That's how far we've fallen. Hollywood's elite scrambled to validate the flight as a feminist milestone. Meanwhile, real astronauts, the ones in actual orbit doing research, fixing satellites, and surviving months in cramped quarters, were nowhere in the conversation. Instead, we got emotional speeches, earth-loving metaphors, and Instagram captions that read like motivational fridge magnets. Even fellow celebrities couldn't stay silent. Olivia Wilde reposted images of Katy Perry kissing the ground with a tone of mockery. Amy Schumer joked she was added to the flight last minute while riding the subway. Martha Stewart posted her own zero-gravity throwback, trolling the entire spectacle. When people within the fame machine itself start mocking an event like this, you know something's off. This wasn't female solidarity. It was high-priced cosplay. They didn't break barriers. They broke character, stepping into roles they weren't qualified to play and expecting applause. Let's talk about how this whole mission was dressed up in empowerment messaging. Floating through space, Lauren Sanchez joyfully shouted, "Girl power," while holding a flower bouquet like she was hosting an interstellar version of The Bachelorette. Gayle King brought a daisy to symbolize her daughter and spoke in poetic riddles about the silence of space and the energy of the cosmos. Katy Perry, not to be outdone, serenaded the capsule with a rendition of What a Wonderful World, like she was auditioning for a Super Bowl halftime show. It was less space exploration and more Coachella at 60 miles altitude. And that's the problem. This wasn't a moment of groundbreaking female achievement. It was a billionaire-sponsored performance art piece, choreographed to perfection and designed to go viral. But empowerment isn't about floating with a flower in your hand or hashtagging your experience into something meaningful. Real empowerment is earned, not handed out with a boarding pass. The entire spectacle felt like a parody of Progress, a space-themed TED Talk staged for Instagram. They didn't break the glass ceiling. They pressed their faces against the window and took a selfie. When the capsule landed, the internet didn't hesitate. The reaction was swift, brutal, and frankly, hilarious. Twitter roasted the crew like they were the cast of a reality show who'd mistaken a private jet for a spaceship. One viral meme had a side-by-side of the Blue Origin capsule and Disney World's Soarin' ride with the caption, "Same training, less drama." Another joked, "Congratulations to the first group of influencers to visit the upper stratosphere and return with zero new knowledge." Reddit went in harder. Users mocked the 48-hour training these celebrities underwent, noting that airline flight attendants train longer, and they actually have to work. TikTok creators lip-synced to Gayle King's poetic monologues, mimicking her dreamy stares and spiritual awakening, captioning it, "When you find enlightenment 60 miles above your personal shopper." The consensus was clear. This wasn't about space, it was about spectacle. And the public saw right through it. Instead of admiration, the trip became an object of ridicule, a punchline in a larger joke about privilege, ego, and out-of-touch elitism. This is the existential crisis no one at Blue Origin seems ready to face. The word astronaut used to mean something. It meant danger, discipline, years of study, and a willingness to risk your life for the betterment of humanity. But now, it's apparently interchangeable with celebrity guest. These passengers didn't pilot the spacecraft. They didn't conduct any research. They didn't even steer. The entire capsule was operated remotely. If the Wi-Fi cut out, they'd be just as helpless as the rest of us trying to refresh Instagram. And the training? Please. They spent 2 days learning how to get in and out of a capsule and how to fasten a seatbelt. That's not astronaut training, that's onboarding at Spirit Airlines. There was no zero gravity preparation, no emergency simulations, no navigation systems to learn. Just vibes, cameras, and a sense of cosmic entitlement. So what are we supposed to call them? Space tourists? Influencers in orbit? Because calling them astronauts insults every person who's actually worn that title and sacrificed something to earn it. If you can float for 10 minutes and post a selfie and suddenly be hailed as a pioneer, then we've diluted the meaning of space exploration to the point of absurdity. Let's strip away the hashtags, the branding, and the emotional sound bites. What happened here wasn't a revolution. It was a luxury product, packaged as progress and sold with emotional spin. It wasn't about opening doors for women. It was about opening wallets. These weren't pioneers charting a new course for humanity. They were passengers on a billionaire's amusement park ride, curated to look meaningful, but utterly devoid of substance. The average woman isn't looking at this flight and feeling empowered. She's wondering how she's supposed to celebrate a group of millionaires playing astronaut while she works 3 jobs and tries to afford gas. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's hard to relate to people discovering the beauty of silence in space while wearing designer flight suits. And that's what makes it so tone deaf. The attempt to spin this as historical, as groundbreaking, rings hollow when you realize the only reason these women were on that flight is because of their celebrity status and who they're dating. It wasn't merit, it wasn't scientific contribution, it was access. That's not a legacy, that's a PR campaign with a launch pad. In the end, this space voyage didn't inspire a new generation. It didn't change the narrative on gender or achievement. What it did was expose the absurdity of modern celebrity culture, a culture so obsessed with branding, image, and self-mythologizing that it tried to turn a 10-minute luxury joyride into the moon landing. They returned from space and held press conferences like they'd cured disease. They cried, they journaled, they mused about energy and healing as if touching the edge of Earth's atmosphere had unlocked spiritual truths unavailable to the rest of us. But the reality? They floated, took a few photos, and came back unchanged, except for maybe a stronger sense of self-importance. This wasn't the next chapter in human progress. It was a bloated vanity project masked as empowerment, and the public didn't fall for it. We saw it for what it was, a costly, cringeworthy spectacle that proved even the vacuum of space isn't safe from influencer culture. Let's save the word astronaut for those who earn it. Let's stop calling billionaire PR stunts milestones. And maybe, just maybe, let's stop pretending a 10-minute photo op in orbit is the future of space travel. Because if this is the future, it's less 2001, A Space Odyssey, and more Keeping Up with the Cosmonaut.